are open. It's very susceptible to moisture. You can't have overhead spraying because of that fact. Growers know this. They know what you can, what you can't do if they've been in the game for a long time. New guys that have been transitioning because all of a sudden this is the new golden investment, golden business opportunity, whatever. They don't know. They are new to the game. They don't understand the ins and the outs of organic growing because they've been sold a three-part system. You buy X, Y, Z product from company that is owned by some of the big giants like Scott or Monsanto or whatever, and they'll give you a super simple way of doing it, and they do it that way. And I'm not going to knock anybody's grow process or how they do what they do, their formulations. That's great. Everyone is entitled to grow whichever way they want. I'm not the only way to grow. I just feel that when I've gotten the results back, when people have had the taste test, the side-by-side, Pepsi challenge, as it were, they gravitate toward the organic. More flavor, more nose, more of the medical benefits that you're looking for, the trichome production, the potential for healing. That's what I am used to getting when I'm working with my clients and they're using those kinds of inputs, because they are conscious of what they're making, because they do realize this could be for themselves. This could be for their kids, for their grandkids, for their family members, for their friends. And they're not as likely to go ahead and make toxic stuff and pass it on, if you get my meaning.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, you know, the truth is that a lot of these toxins and pathogens are also found in our general food supply on a regular basis. And Roundup Ready corn and BT cotton, and, you know, we're exposed to all of these chemicals on a regular basis, I think, and the public has been sort of kept in the dark. But the one thing about the cannabis industry is that it is being grown mainly for medicine. And in the absence of regulation, the industry has had to sort of figure out how to regulate itself. And a lot of these problems have been a trial and error type of thing. And so, you know, obviously there's a learning curve, like you said, for people who are just getting into the business. But I find it really disturbing that the public really hasn't been made aware yet what to ask for when they're looking for their products. And they see a certificate of analysis and it looks like it's clean from heavy metals and it's clean from certain pathogens, but they're not always tested for fungus or other types of injurious ingredients that could really harm people. And case in point would be the vaping issue, right? So I've heard reports that fungicide has been found in vaping products that are related to some of the victims of the contaminated vape products. Can you explain a little bit about that?
I'd be happy to. First off, the plant is medicine, God created, and exactly particular to our well-being as well as animals' well-being. The inputs that you're growing or that you're using to grow your plants are what are creating the issues. So when you're talking about the vaping industry, vaping is just the delivery system. To me, the vapes are fine. What ends up being the problem, the Frankenstein, is when you have product that is being produced as medicine that has issues because of the contaminated inputs that then cannot be sold as a flowered product, is then reduced down to an oil because the grower had to address the problem. So if he addressed the powdery mildew, he addressed it with a product that was a fungicide to eliminate that, to try to solve the problem, but he still ends up with fungus and then the fungicide on the flowers. You can't sell it on the market. No one will buy it. You take it to a laboratory. They look at it under a loop, a microscope, and you can see the fungus. And the guy says, sorry, but no, cannot give you a certificate. So what ends up happening? That grower is then forced to reduce that flower down to an oil. Now, when you're reducing the volume of material down into an oil, you now have a concentrated version of the trichomes, the oils from the plant, a concentrated version of the fungicide that was sprayed on there, and a concentrated version of the mold that the fungicide was supposed to be killing, all into a nice little capsule. You now place this capsule into your vape pen. You're now adding a heating element that is now activating this toxic brew, witch's brew, and then you're taking it directly into your lungs. Now, the reason why that is relevant is because if you were putting a lotion on your skin, at least it has to go through the skin in order to be absorbed into your bloodstream. And that first level of protection is what is important. If you're ingesting something, okay, well, you take a gummy and you eat it, it goes into your upper and lower GI before it's absorbed into your bloodstream, and the acids will go ahead and dissolve it. If you're taking a vape pull or a hit off of a vape pen, it's going directly into your lungs and having an exchange with the alveoli in your lungs. And that goes directly into the blood system. So there is no buffer. You're taking a straight shot. You may as well just shoot it straight up intravenously into your vein. It's about the same. And when you're putting this heating element on this witch's brew, what has been found is hydrogen cyanide is released. Hydrogen cyanide on the inside of your lungs does a great deal of damage. You're talking about chemical burns. You're talking about cyanide is a poison. So depending on the concentration, depending on how many hits you're taking, etc., you're going to then suffer the consequences of what this grower put on his plants, grew his plants with, and then reduced it down into a concentrated form that is hitting you 100 times harder than if you would have smoked it as a flower. Does that make sense?
Dear God, yes. I mean, it really narrows it down to poison. The CDC has actually named vitamin E oil as one of the problems with these vape products that are killing people. But it seems to me like the issue is just so much more dangerous than you would think vitamin E could be. Why do you think that this isn't front page news?
I believe that there is an ongoing desire to take the upstart vape companies and put them out of business. There is within the community, and I know guys that own vape companies that make vape juice, that are doing it right, that do ISO 9001 productions, that are doing everything correct, as it should be, as you would treat anything with batch numbers, where you can go ahead and verify every component all the way back to when it was originally made. And they have the records to go ahead and keep all of that. So when you have companies that are doing that are doing the right things, yet they're being brushed with the same brush as everybody else that is doing less than quality components in their products, yeah, that might be where some of the vitamin E parts come out, where they're saying, oh, well, they put this or that, or they ran this component. They were selling, I don't know, citric type component within their formulation. And that citric type component is creating an acidic response with some of the other parts of the vape pens. there's a lot of things. There are companies that are doing it right. There are companies that are not doing it right. There's stuff out there that's bootleg. There's stuff out there that is ISO 9001. The fact that you'd have the entire industry attacked or everybody is thrown under the bus, to me, makes it sound a little bit sketchy. The fact that they're saying, oh, it's the vitamin E, I don't buy it, because I know guys that own the companies and they tell me what's going on. And they say it's an unholy matrimony between the pharmaceutical groups and the big tobacco groups to put these guys out. They want them gone. And the ones that have financial capabilities will survive to an extent, but for the most part, they're cleaning everybody's clock. Is it a hatchet job? I don't know. Are they looking out for the best interest of the population? I sure hope so.
Yeah, it sounds a bit sinister, but also I think the whole problem is just so daunting. It's hard to sort of encapsulate all of this information into just one simple solution or one simple problem that needs to be addressed, and a direction to send the CDC that doesn't involve the complexities of these huge lobby groups that have been vying to keep cannabis illegal for a long time in general. The one conspiracy theory that I think holds water, like no matter how you look at it, since 1937, cannabis has been victimized by it. And while it might be these big industries trying to keep the cannabis industry from achieving its full success that it deserves, the cannabis industry is never going away from this point forward, because the cat's out of the bag and you just can't put it back in. So now it boils down to, how can the industry protect itself from ridicule and protect its product so that it's not doing any harm to patients, and protect its investment in the crops so that things aren't lost. I mean, what's the takeaway message for people who are growing cannabis for medical purposes so that they can now protect themselves from these issues? I mean, is it a matter of just testing substrates before they plant their seeds? I mean, it seems like there's got to be a pathway for safety and success all in one.
Oh, yeah, there is. And as I see it, it boils down to basic common sense and knowing what is in the components that you're putting into your plants. So is it the grower's responsibility? Yes. If he's making the plant medicine, if he's going to be responsible for that going into lotions, potions, vape cartridges, you better believe it's his responsibility. Now, should he test everything? Yes, to make sure. But again, every grower, in my experience, has always seen a PM bloom in their room, or insects that pop up that you didn't bring them in. How did they get there? They piggybacked on whatever it was that you were using. Spider mites are always the favorite amongst the growers, because they have impenetrable eggs. Literally, they call them, they're diamond proof. You couldn't cut them with a diamond. That's how hard these things are to kill. And when you end up with these blooms, yeah, you have to deal with things. But again, as a grower, it is your responsibility. This industry is a nascent industry, just starting out. If you don't want it taken back from you, then it behooves you to make sure that what you're producing and what everyone else around you is producing is quality medicine that can be justified all the way through. So you are having to go ahead and make sure that every part of what you're doing can be verified. And then on top of that, COAs,